Hi, I'm Jamie. This is Dead Dodge Garage Arkansas edition, and this is Darian's Cordoba. I'm traveling this week for the No Name Nationals. It just so happens currently I'm in Arkansas at just Mopar Joe's place. So before we do anything else in this video, I do have to say thank you very much to Joe for lending me a spot here to get all greasy in his brand new shop. If you follow my channel, there's a pretty good chance you know about Just Mopar Joe, but in case you don't, hop over to his channel and check it out. He does some cool drag racing stuff. He's like actually fast, unlike some of us. He does awesome big block builds and other cool classic Mopar content. So make sure you check him out, subscribe to his channel, and tell him I sent you. Now you may be surprised to learn that this is not, in fact, my 1979 Chrysler 300. It's a very similar car, and there's actually a bit of a funny story to that as well. No, this is the more basic Cordoba. The 300 is what I love to call the fancy Cordoba, because really that's all it is. The body of the 300 is exactly the same as this Cordoba. Funny enough, the 300 is white. They were all white, well, except for the ones that were red, and they all had the same red interior. This car being white with red interior, yeah, it looks very, very similar. But there are trim differences and other things that we'll look at in a minute here. One obvious thing immediately is the little half vinyl top. A 300 never would have had that. Instead of 300 badges, there are Cordoba badges everywhere. I highly approve of the little gold coin things. The grille is obviously very different. The 300 has the crosshair thing. This looks kind of more like a Lincoln, I want to say. New for 1975, the Cordoba was a downsized Chrysler built on the B-body platform, the same basic platform that underpinned Chargers, Roadrunners, and things of that nature. The Cordoba was available only as a two-door luxury coupe. They call it a coupe. Of course, it's not like our traditional hardtops with a back window that rolls down, creating a fully open window space here. They were enclosed in this area with that solid window piece instead. What do you think of these wheels? I think they're kind of cool, although I'd say I prefer real center lines. The interior is your pretty typical late B-body configuration. Unlike the 300, we've got a column shifter and a bench seat instead of the center console here with floor shifter. Unlike the 300, which has that fancy engine-turned aluminum finish on the dash, this thing just has your more basic wood grain. The 300, of course, has rich Corinthian leather, which this car does not. It just has cloth. I kind of prefer it, actually. It's a bit more comfy. Just like the one-year-only 300 model, this happens to be a 1979 Cordoba. The B-body went away after 79, so this is really the end of an era. The Cordoba name continued for 80 through 83, but those were built on the smaller, more square J-body platform. Given that you clicked on this video and it's Engine Wednesday, you probably already know we're going to be doing some stuff under the hood today. The subject of that stuff is this, your basic late 70s smog-era 318 engine. The big block B and RB engines left the building at Chrysler after 1978. So for 1979, all you could get under the hood of this car would be the basic 318 or the fancier 360, like the 300 has, of course. Incidentally, the two engines are pretty much dressed the same. They both have the same electronic spark control system air cleaner here, air conditioning pump here, and the big gigantic 100 amp alternator here. I believe that must have been standard by 1979 in this car. Unlike the 300, which would have a thermoquad 4-barrel, this thing does only have a 2-barrel carb under that air cleaner, but it's pretty hard to tell at first blush. The only other quick, easy thing to notice, this thing does not have the premium 360 stickers that would be on a 360 in this location at the front of the valve covers. As you saw in the introduction, this thing runs and drives. The 318 runs pretty well. As a matter of fact, Darian drove it over here from Oklahoma a few days ago. Darian has owned this car for years. He actually drove it to Oklahoma from Washington without any issues. I'm told it got pretty excellent fuel economy on that trip as well. He has long wanted to put some extra pep in this 318 step, and given that I owe him a gigantic favor, what with the price being right, let us say, for that 300, I was conscripted to complete this job. Last week, I did a video on the late 80s, early 90s closed chamber 318 cylinder heads. These would have a casting number ending in 302, or for the later years, 714. That's what we've got on these heads. Notice they're in the back of my truck here. They made the journey 2,500 miles from Washington to Arkansas to be installed on this Cordoba. Oh, also notice they're pretty blue now. Thanks, Alan. Maybe I should clean the greasy fingerprints off. That's my bad. At the same time, we're going to be installing a new camshaft. This is coming to us from Oregon Cams, and it's essentially the same exact grind we put in Mark's Barracuda a few months back. It seems to be a pretty healthy engine. Obviously, we're going to be pulling the top end off, and we'll certainly be scrutinizing things to look for any other issues. Here's hoping we don't find any, because I do not have time to pull this 318 out and overhaul it. You see, I'm over here to attend the No Name Nationals drag racing event for small YouTube channels. I've got my Barracuda here, which is, well, still not finished, but it's closer. It might be a working car now. We're actually going to do some testing with this tomorrow, and then No Name is this weekend. What this all means is I have today and then a day or maybe two after No Name to complete this Cordoba project. For that reason, I really just need to dive right in on taking this thing apart. We'll get into this little 318, see what we can see, and hopefully we'll learn some stuff along the way. One thing I never seem to do with these projects is take a before drive, so we have something to compare to when we're done, to see if we've actually added any power or anything. Unfortunately, once again, I'm not going to be able to do that, mostly because I don't want to get this engine hot. For other supporting modifications here, we're going to be deleting the lean burn, and I was a little worried about the exhaust, but someone has already fixed that for us. We've got a nice free-flowing dual exhaust system here. We will be sticking with stock manifolds. There is no reason to put headers in this car. Naturally, we'll be doing a 4-barrel conversion at the same time, and we will put a dual roller chain on when we install the new cam and lifters. Aside from that, it's going to be all stock. Most of what we're going to need is here in the trunk of the Cordoba. We've got a Mopar Performance Electronic Ignition Conversion Kit over there. I see some engine paint. That's good. We're going to need that. We've got our dual roller timing chain. We've got an oil change over here, some fresh coolant, a nice 4-barrel air cleaner that needs some paint, a Felpro gasket set. This is a full engine set. We shouldn't need all of it, but we will need timing, water pump, intake, and head gaskets, and exhaust, and whatever else I'm forgetting. And then over here, we've got a used Performer manifold, which is perfect for a 318 like this, and we've got a 1406 Edelbrock carb. Notice what's missing from this picture? Yeah, the cam and lifters I mentioned. And the reason for that is Oregon Cams was backed up a few weeks. We ordered it basically just in time to get it here. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be shipped straight to Joe's house since Darian didn't have it yet when he moved the car over here. Well, it ended up shipped to Darian's house. So he's going to bring us that in a few days. Because of that, I don't have a cam card to show you. Again, you can refer back to the series of videos I did earlier this year on the Performance 318 build for Mark's car. I know the lift is 447 intake, 450 something, 452 exhaust. And the duration is pretty mild. We're sticking with a stock converter and a highway gear, so we can't use anything radical here. I was just going to point out this nice fresh set of Blue Streak wires, but apparently there are critter problems over at Darian's house because at least 2 of these have been chewed to bits. Some of this wiring's not looking too hot either. It's a good thing we don't need all that. Like many other vehicles from this era, this thing would have originally come equipped with a smog pump. Now the smog pump is already gone, probably because it seized solid 30 years ago like most of them. If it was still there, it would probably accidentally not go back on while I'm doing all of this work. There is one little bit of the piping remaining from it over here. Because it has a check valve on it, it can't leak exhaust or anything like that. With the heads we're putting on, the ports are now plugged. I showed that in the previous video. So we actually could eliminate that. We wouldn't even have to cap the back of the manifold and it would be just fine. I took a bunch of reference photos showing where the various bits of wiring and fasteners are. Of course, I've done this on this type of engine many, many times, but you want to record the particularities for what you're working on. That's always a good idea. Yeah, the little critters have been really busy on this one. That's not good. This is ignition voltage right here. I marked the number 1 plug wire on both ends. As long as you know where that is, you could just throw all the wires off loose. You can always 1-843-6572 your way back to the right order. Here's our factory distributor exposed. This is an early lean burn type. Notice it has no vacuum pod and no advance whatsoever, but it only has the 1 pickup. Later systems would use dual pickups. In our kit, we've got this distributor, which we'll be replacing that with. It's the same exact body, but this one has the earlier advance mechanism. You can see it's got vacuum on there. This is not the fancy tunable one with the sliding plate inside. If I want to tighten the curve on this, well, it'll involve a welder. The car has a nice Blue Streak coil, and it ran pretty good, like I said. That's not ideal. Now, I wouldn't ever delete any emission systems, and I certainly wouldn't tell you that you should. Anyway, I'm off to a pretty good start here with the vacuum and electrical stuff out of the way. I am going to grab the shop vac and clean up this horrible mess. Obviously, the intake's coming off, and when that happens, any of this that's sitting here loose is liable to just fall in the engine. That would be bad. I was slightly worried about reinstalling this air conditioning stuff with the Performer manifold, but it looks like most everything is down on the front of the engine, and the only thing that goes to the intake is this support bracket. It just so happens that the Performer has a little boss in this area, so we're going to be able to bolt that right back on. Yeah, I'm vacuuming up somebody's home right now, I think. I hope I don't need this wiring later. Looking at this, I have a sneaking suspicion the cruise control hasn't worked for a long time. That's good. I certainly can't guarantee it works when I'm done here. Hey, before you loosen your water pump belt, make sure you loosen the bolts holding your clutch fan on, because holding the fan doesn't do you any good. 3 of these went just fine by leaning on the belt. The 4th one did not want to budge, but I got it. I thought pulling the big alternator would be a bear, but actually, all of the wiring comes this way off the fender well, and the bolts are easy enough to deal with. It just pops right out of there. Got the coolant draining now. I can't do much else without that out of there, like pulling accessory brackets and stuff, because the long bolts go into the block and hold coolant in. Notice, there were a bunch of dead bugs in that bucket. It was definitely clean when I started, and this thing wouldn't drain at all. I had to blow it out with some compressed air. So that's interesting. That's Cheese Balls, makers of the finest drain pans. It's not the biggest mess of all time, but it sure is one. All over the new concrete. Apparently a new feature on the 79 small block is when you take the bolts out that hold the water pump and timing cover down, the coolant goes every single direction and it's impossible to catch all of it. Hey, that fuel pump was on lift, and I learned that the fun way, of course. Loosened the bolt, it popped right off there and shot gas all over. Trying to finagle the pump out of the timing cover now, which is easier said than done. Obviously I need this out of the way to get things further apart. Probably gonna have to pull this super stripped line to get it loose here. We'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, I was kind of wrenching on this. Okay, well, it's out of there. I guess that's how you do that. Anyway, the filter popped right off of that supply line, and I'm glad it did because I happen to notice this line is completely shot. Did you know RV2 compressors are heavy? Well, they are. Also greasy sometimes. Once you get all that stuff out of the way, it kind of actually looks like a 318. We're getting down there. I gotta get the bypass hose loose. Probably try and get that upper hose actually off. Get the lower pulley, which is invariably gonna be packed full of sand and stuff. I think I'm an hour and a half, 2 hours into this so far. Something like that. It's going pretty good. Honestly, the biggest issue is the 318 is all the way back there, and the front of the late B body is all the way up here. Something many of you have told me to buy over the last couple years is an ultrasonic cleaner. I've never done that, but Mopar Joe did, and he said, hey, take this basket, fill it up with grubby parts from this Cordoba, and we'll just throw them in there and they'll clean themselves. So we're gonna give that a go. We've got some really grimy pulleys, bolts, and a couple brackets and things filling this basket. You can't see them because, well, this stuff kind of looks like the drippings left off the Christmas roast or whatever. It's already nice and toasty, so I think I just have to hit this button. And now we get obnoxious ultrasonic noises in the background for the next half hour. Hey, how hot is that?
It's the warmest thing I felt today.
Wow.
Look at that gooey.
It's doing cool stuff.
It even used some paint off it.
Look at that pulley.
Not bad.
That's pretty spiffy.
It's flipper.
Yeah.
That's actually rust. It won't cure rust.
I'm not worried about that at all.
Wow, that's hot.
Well, yeah. Water pump removal 101. Okay. We might have to step up to water pump removal 102. What is this thing, welded? The big boy got it. Finally. Obviously, things on and around these engines changed over the decades. One thing that didn't really change, fastener sizes. They're pretty much always consistent. Valve covers, well, those use 7/16 hex head bolts. Exhaust manifolds are 1/2 inch. Intake manifolds and just about all of your water pump and accessory stuff, 9/16. The balancer bolts pretty much always 1.25 inches. Valve covers are off. Obviously someone's been in here before. They installed a set of those nasty rubber-coated fiber gaskets. Notice this one just broke when I took it out. They didn't leak too bad. I pulled the transmission dipstick just to get it out of the way. I have to leave the tube in there, but this helps a little bit. Can't help but notice that this fluid is a little dark and a little stinky. Might well be time for a fluid service and filter change. Well, it's not the cleanest engine I've ever seen. It's not horrible, but we're definitely gonna have some work for the ultrasonic cleaner with these rockers. Typically, I'd use a pry bar for this, but somehow this worked. Oh, come on. There you go. Ooh. Yeah. Might be some stuff in the hood. Tell you what, it was quite nice of them to put all this extra room in the late B-body engine compartment. Usually, you can only do this with trucks. Oh, did you know the cast iron intakes are kind of heavy. Yeah. Carefully. Yep, it's a small block. That's not a factory cork, it's like foam, I think. Ugh. Now I just have to climb back out of here. Oh. Ah. Sure. It's a good thing we don't need this heat riser for the factory intake anymore. Strangely, the hardware for the manifold is coming loose easily. In fact, this wasn't even ever tight. Okay, basically none of this manifold hardware was tight, but I didn't hear any leaks. Oh. Yeah, I just wasn't paying enough attention, I guess. If this car still had a factory exhaust with a Y-pipe, I would have had to undo at least one of the flanges on the manifolds. But because it has duals, the manifolds can move away from the head like this. And I think that might just be enough room to get the head bolts out. Yeah, maybe. Mopar Joe loves to tell me that champions don't run champions. He hates these spark plugs. So of course he was disgusted to see him not only in this car, but also in my race car. I maintain that these are in fact spark plugs and they will in fact spark. Anyway, these are looking interesting. I mean, we've got a rusty brown coloration, particularly rusty in number 5 there. Looks a bit on the lean side to me, but then, you know, lean burn. That's kind of the point, wasn't it? I think Champion should sponsor me. That would be really funny. That one bolt and the rear nut were the only ones that were tight, like, at all. Okay, the front had this goofy long nut. That was, in fact, tight. This manifold dropped out and way down. Thinking maybe this gasket wasn't exactly the best either. Why is this thing gurgling?
It's washing things now, see?
Oh, yeah. Just one of many services he offers, I guess.
Are you done with that car yet?
No.
I would have been done.
Oh. Look at that. Because we're in Arkansas, they'll just dry off real quick and nothing will rust. Dude, that looks brand new. No, except for the crusties.
Brand new.
I have noticed, and I don't know if you can see this in there, but this car was a little overdue for valve seals. 4 more decent looking plugs on this side. Just a little bit of what could be oil in there, but not bad at all. Here are those greasy rockers off. Yeah, they'll go for a bath in the ultrasonic cleaner in a little bit here. Obviously, we're not making any crazy power with this engine. There's no reason to not reuse the factory stamped steel rockers, factory shafts and hardware, obviously, and the factory push rods. As I've explained on the channel many times, a factory set of adjustable 273 rockers are a great upgrade for any performance small block. If you're going to use hydraulic lifters, as I did in this engine, of course, you'll have to get a special length push rod. But other than that, it's a great choice.
Here's how we're doing this. Just go over there.
Beautiful.
It's going to look like new money, or your money back. Oh, look at there. It made it.
They're a little greasy.
Once they're clean, you'll be able to tell how
bad they are.
Yeah, see if they're worn out.
Can't wait.
Try those in too. For fun.
I think I might have to get me one of them ultrasonic cleaners.
They're available on my Amazon storefront.
Use my sponsored link in the description. Gurgle.
Missed that video.
It might not look it, but I am trying to limit the amount of horrible mess on the floor. Currently draining the water jacket for this passenger side. I've got all the head bolts loose, and I was about to knock that thing off of there till I remembered, well, this stuff would end up on the floor. So now we're doing this. This timing cover hole drains coolant on this side, and I think this one does. I know the intake manifold's been off of this thing. Just looking at stuff, I kind of think the heads might have been done. There's been some weird like grinding, polishing stuff here. Maybe that was just for the intake. Anyway, I thought the heads might just come off like everything else has. No, they're very well stuck. Got the passenger head out finally. It wasn't any kind of fun. It involved a little bit of light prying at the front corner and then smacking with the hammer, and it did finally come loose. Look at this. It brought with it half of the replacement end seal that was in there. Anyway, the gasket was hanging on really well. You might think that's just collateral damage, but notice that occurred right at the top of the chamber, in that area that always leaks. I think this is an original type gasket. I can't see any marking. It's definitely not Felpro blue. It's junk though. If something is in your way, just take it off. Just remove it. Don't try to fight it. Don't try to go around it. Take the thing off and get on with it. Somewhere I often break that golden rule myself, Exhaust manifold flanges. See, I hate these things. They are the bane of my existence. They're the absolute worst. The factory used a little metal cage nut holder thing to keep the bolt in place. You're supposed to just be able to loosen the nut, but obviously, 50 years is a lot of years. The ravages of time sees that hardware up, and then you can't get them out. I did decide to try and get this one out after fighting to get the bottom row of head bolts around it. I actually managed to extract one bolt. The other one, not so much. It spun the stupid cage nut thing and it will not loosen. And what's even weirder than that is, this is one of those flanges that has a ball and a cup. With one bolt loose, it should wobble all around on that other bolt. It won't come out, obviously, but I should be able to move it or pivot it. That stuff is all seized together. After much swearing and covering myself in grease, I did figure out a way to get a universal and a 3/4 socket around that manifold at the back to get the rear bolt out. Now, to get them back in and torque properly, it's not going to be so easy. Hopefully with the head out of the way, I can get to the top of this bolt and hold it somehow and get that apart. That head put up just as much of a fight, but I did finally get it to pop free, and once it did, it came off complete with the gasket. Not as broken as the other one. I do see some evidence of leakage at the top, like especially right there. That could just be mess from pulling the head loose, I don't know. Where's the scrap bin again? All right, I won't scrap them. A mill job, some porting, some good springs, maybe some bigger valves if you're really excited about that. And you can make some ponies with them. Obviously, we're not gonna do that. Getting places now, but still not done. I gotta get that distributor out, the distributor drive loose, the balancer pulled, the timing cover off, the front of the oil pan gasket trimmed. We'll pull the timing set, the cam retainer, get the cam and lifters out. Just little things, Oh, I gotta take a break for dinner. Ice bath, is that an option? It's hours later, and I'm way too full of fajitas to finish any of this tonight. I got a pretty good start on it. It's almost all the way apart, other than, all of those things I said. As you can see in this valley, this engine isn't a total carboned up, worn out piece of junk. I did kind of want to pull some lifters out and look at them, but there are some carbon buildup rings on those. So I'm going to have to do some work to slide those out. And then there's going to be a bunch of cleaning and scraping and what have you, getting this ready for some new parts. So many bugs. As mentioned, the main objective of this trip is to go do fun race car things with the Barracuda here. When we get back, we'll finish up the Cordoba there, and obviously you'll see that on an upcoming Engine Wednesday video. Until then, as ever, thanks for watching. And remember, Ohana means family. Boop. Ah yes, once again, my sincerest thanks to Just Mopar Joe. Also, I'm sorry.